I got it wrong.
Says that we're streaming live on Facebook now. So welcome to Bruderheim Town Council meeting on May 5th. Would someone from council be willing to read the acknowledgement?
I could read that.
Deputy Mayor had his hand up first. Go ahead.
We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you for that. Looking for someone to, first of all, we'll bring this meeting to order. We're looking for someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Mr. Mayor,
unless there's any additions.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a change, please?
Oh, a deletion is coming.
No, not a deletion, just a change, Mr. Mayor. Can we change 8.2 to 8.1 and 8.1 to 8.2 so that we approve the budget before we set the tax rate bylaw, please?
That's a good idea. Okay, thank you. Any other changes or amendments or alterations to the agenda from anyone? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented or amended, sorry. Councillor Pat.
I move that we adopt the agenda with the amendments.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion from council? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. So this evening we have a proclamation. Thank you to administration for providing that. It's National Public Works Week, May 6th to 22nd. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of Bruderheim. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the town of Bruderheim to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities, be it now resolved, I, Carl Hug, Mayor of the town of Bruderheim, hereby proclaim the week May 16th to 22nd, 2021 as National Public Works Week and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you for that. Put today's date on there and sign this. And that's the first proclamation. And there's also a second proclamation. Should I just make one motion after I read these to accept these proclamations, or do we need separate motions?
One motion, Mr. Mayor, would be fine to accept proclamation.
Okay, and the second proclamation is Economic Development Week, May 9th to 15th, 2021. Town of Bruderheim Economic Development Week. Whereas the International Economic Development Council is the largest professional economic development organization dedicated to serving economic developers, and whereas for almost 50 years, Economic Developers Alberta has been Alberta's leading economic development network, committed to advancing the economic development profession by providing resources, professional development, and networking opportunities, and whereas economic developers promote economic well-being and quality of life for their communities by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is the hallmark of Alberta's economy. And whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including rural and urban, local, state, provincial, and federal governments, public and private partnerships, chambers of commerce, universities, and a variety of other institutions. And whereas economic developers attract and retain high quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. And whereas economic developers work in the town of Bruderheim, and now, therefore, I, Carl Hoke, do hereby proclaim May 9th to 15th, 2021 as Economic Development Week in the town of Bruderheim, and remind individuals of the importance of this community celebration, which supports the expansion of career opportunities and improving quality of life. So sign that declaration or proclamation off and date it, and be looking for a motion from council to approve the proclamations that I just read. So Councillor George.
I make a motion that the town of, I make a motion that the town of council proclaim the week of May 16th to 2021 as National Public Works Week in the town of Bruderheim, as well as 5.2 Economic Development Week, May 9th to 15th, 2021 as Economic Development Week in the town of Bruderheim.
Thank you, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from anyone on council in regards to that motion? Okay, haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. So we can move along now to 6.1, looking for a motion to adopt the minutes of April 21st. Councillor Judy.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of Wednesday, April 21st, 2021, as presented.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the meeting minutes from April 21st? Not hearing anything from council. No concerns. Okay, let's call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you. Council priorities. We're moving right along to 7.1 information requests. So we'll start with Deputy Mayor Daniel. I think you're muted, Daniel.
Yep. No, nothing for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pat.
Nothing, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Judy.
Just wondering about, I see we've got a lot of little bikes out running around on the town roads and out into the back. Just wondering if we're doing to see if they've got proper insurance and stuff like that. Maybe bylaw could look into that for us. I mean, I don't want no accidents because they're coming out of the roadways and out of the side, kind of up onto the roads. They don't look very old, but I see quite a few of them running around town.
Just for clarification, you're not talking about pedal bikes. What are you talking about?
No, like motorbikes. They're like
Oh,
little.
Dirt bikes. Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, we actually put a call in today. We had a few complaints from residents, so.
Yeah, I just noticed them when I'm driving in and out. They're like right up the banks and all that kind of stuff. So, and no parents around, right? So, yeah.
Okay,
That's
thank
all.
you. Thank you, Councillor Judy. And Councillor Wayne.
Nothing at this time.
Councillor Len.
Nothing at this time.
Councillor George.
There's just one thing we have on my travels around town. I've noticed there's a few places that are getting a little bit neglected in town. If there are director of legislation been looking at that, or anything happening with that?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell. What do you refer? I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sorry.
Public property, not public property, private homes. Yards are getting pretty trashy, and
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I know that Mrs. Cote has already started issuing notices and working with residents to get properties cleaned up.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor George. Anything else?
Nothing.
Okay, anyone else from council have any information requests? I do have one information request. I received the auditor report on findings from 2020 on paper, and in it he mentions that during the course of the audit he identified 8 adjustments that were communicated to management and subsequently corrected in the financial statements. Was there anything significant from those adjustments, or?
Mr. Mayor, I will, I believe they were just administrative. Sharon, do you know off the top of your head, those 8? I think they were just GL reversals, most of them, and putting them in the proper spots.
Okay, so, oh,
Yeah,
Sharon, did you want to? Yeah.
that's correct. They were just administrative corrections.
okay, thank you. I appreciate
You're
that. Um, Councillor Wayne, yep.
Just something that's just following up from last meeting. Has Fortis presented their plan of what they're going to be doing over the next little while in regards to maintenance?
Mr. Mayor, I will let Mr. Tomashat address that.
Thanks, Patty. Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Letko. So I have met with the Fortis representative and there is a call in. We have 2 work orders in for that. Interesting enough, the representative from Fortis, she's new to our area the last few months, and she actually had the field manager come out and they concurred that some of those light standards that we had in question, and more so that you had in question, definitely need to be addressed. So the work orders are in through 311, and it's hopeful that they'll get at least a few of them this year. As you can imagine, with COVID and all the other tributary issues that are going on, they have assured me that there'll be a few of them addressed in West Woodlands. That's all I can tell you right now. So the work order is going through its process. We have addressed it. So we're just waiting now.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a follow up on the Fortis. They were also looking at the light standards on Queen Street as far as how they look right now. And was that part of their plan as well?
Mr. Mayor, absolutely. So again, this representative that was out was actually appalled at at how they had been painted. Back in 2017, when I started with the town, they had done a paint job and it was not the best. And she looked at those and she agreed that they're appalling. And so that work order, so again, I guess there's 3 different work requests that are in to have the light standards redone down Main Street, as well as extra lights put in down 50th by the arena. So we're looking at putting in some street standards so that the arena road, that 50th on the west side of the town hall, is lit up. It's pretty dark there.
Yep. Then follow up to that information, is there money in the budget for that? Because there's a cost to the town for putting in more light standards, is there not?
Yeah, and I did talk to her about that, and I told her that Mayor Hawk had lots of money and he'd be more than willing to donate that money to the town. So
yeah, I just have to borrow it from our public works foreman. He's got a bank.
We're looking into those.
Looks like Dennis is. Oh, there we go. You were freezing up there for a second, so we didn't catch your last comment. But
I said, yeah, we'll bring those costs back to council, and we'll go forward from there.
Great, thank you. Any other information requests from council? Okay, haven't heard none. Any program requests? So we'll go in reverse order this time. Councillor George, any information requests?
No, nothing for me today.
Councillor Len?
Nothing at this time.
Councillor Wayne?
Nothing, sir.
Councillor Judy?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Councillor Pat?
No, but I probably should have brought this up with information requests. The Public Works cleaning up the streets, are they picking up the disposed masks that are laying all around? Are they trying to stay on top of that, or what's the deal?
Mr. Mayor, I'll let Mr. Tomashat address.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Lee. So we've had our summer students start this week, and there's been 2 of them going around and picking up some of the garbage. More so, we started them out at the north end of the campsite. Just for reference, we picked up 18 black garbage bags. These are the 33 by 55-inch garbage bags of garbage out there. They've already picked up 6 garbage bags of garbage down 52nd. So they will be going through town, picking up the garbage as they see over the next several days.
All right, okay, thanks. I know we've got our garbage disposal containers on the streets and that, but number of people aren't utilizing them. Okay, thanks, Dennis.
Welcome.
Thank you for that question. Was that after the pitch-in week that this pickup happened, or before?
Mr. Mayor, we started with our garbage pickup on Monday afternoon.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if the pitch-in had much impact. I know some people were out cleaning up in town, so thank you for that. And without further ado, if there's no other information requests, then we can move on to requests for decisions, and we're going to have 8.2 going ahead of 8.1. So that's 2021 final budgets and 3-year financial and 5-year capital plans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of this report is to present the final 2021 operating budget and 3-year financial and 5-year capital plans as prepared and presented to Council in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. We're recommending that Town Council approve the 2021 final municipal operating budget as presented. The Town Council approve the 3-year financial plan for the Town of Bruderheim as presented. The Town Council approved the 5-year capital plan for the Town of Bruderheim as presented. Council history: on December 16, 2020, Council passed the interim operating budget with a projected 1.22% increase for the 2021 budget. The final operating 2021 operating budget is presented for consideration. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the proposed amendments are to reduce the budget to the same level as 2019 and 2020, therefore a second year of a 0% budget increase. This will help assist residents and businesses during this difficult time. Administration worked diligently to identify the following influencers on the proposed budget: the 2020 budget and the actual operating results of the past 3 years, the impacts of COVID-19, property assessments for the year 2020 used in calculating the 2021 property tax, the town's current financial position, inflation rate as per the municipal price index, impacts from the provincial 2021 budget, policing cost increase from 10% to the 15% in 2021, contribution from other government bodies for recreation. Strategic plan areas: we embrace community sustainability, focusing on well-maintained and planned infrastructure, effective financial stewardship, and excellence in service delivery. The development of our 5-year capital plan for sustainable and safe infrastructure, a healthy community, continuance of current service levels in the community, open and transparent governance, a community is educated on responsibilities and limitation of council. Other impacts: Legend Legal, MGA RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Sections 242 to 246 and 283.1. Summary: in the proposed 2021 operating budget, taxation revenue will remain the same as compared with the 2020 taxation revenue. The 2021 municipal operating budget is balanced and continues to reflect the Town of Bruderheim policy and practice that the annual budget is fiscally responsible. Town Council's approval of the 2021 final operating budget is necessary prior to establishing the municipal rates of taxation for 2021. In accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Council must pass a 3-year financial and a 5-year capital plan. The intent is to develop a plan, not a multi-year budget. Inflation, growth, and service changes have been forecasted in these plans. The primary benefit of these plans is to identify future financial challenges and opportunities, allowing administration and council to plan and develop a roadmap to minimize, eliminate challenges, and take full advantage of opportunities. It is proposed to amend the interim operating budget with the following changes that are cumulative over $5,000. Addition of the community school playground donation in the operation budget of $25,000. Reducing the mileage for the CAO due to virtual meetings by $5,000. Increase of our legal fees by $9,000. Increase temporary staff wages to backfill retirement of an FTE staff of $11,000. Increased revenue from contracted services, $20,000. That was the onboarding of the Josephburg Water Co-op. Decrease the public works wages, delay in hiring till 2021 by $29,000. Deleted contracted services for sweeping, exchange for services with the Town of Lamont, $8,000 reduction. Increased revenue for the campgrounds based on our current bookings and projections of an increase of $10,000 in revenue. Reduce recreation funding from other government agencies, end of a current contract by $25,000. Remove expense for special event coordinator due to COVID, $10,000. Reduce snow removal contracted services based on we haven't had any snow removal contracted services in 2021. Reduce reserve transfer to operating offset by increase to contracted services by $20,000. This amendment will change proposed 1.22% increase of the budget to 0%. The impact of COVID-19 and the length of time these impacts will continue is unknown to administration. The 2021 final operating budget maintains service levels provided to the residents of Bruderheim while proactively providing for the future. The 2021 final operating budget is balanced and shows totals of $4,193,976 with amortization at $3,704,146 excluding amortization for both revenues and expenses. Upon council approval, administration will make the 2020 final operating budget, 3-year financial and 5-year capital plan available for public viewing on the town's website. Mr. Mayor, do you want to make a first motion and then I can start the presentation and then council can have discussion while I'm presenting?
Sure. Yep. So there's going to be 3 motions in total under 8.2, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so looking for a motion from council to approve the 2021 final municipal operating budget. Councillor Pat.
I move the town council approve the 2021 final municipal operating budget as presented.
Thank you for that motion. So I'll go ahead, CAO Pat.
Just going to share my screen, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So I would like to just quickly, I know council has the budget for benefit of folks watching us. I thought I would just do a few slides. So the town of Bruderheim, what does it mean for the town to be financially sustainable? We believe it's our ability to manage our finances in such a way that meets existing and future spending commitments, while at the same time ensuring that future generations of taxpayers will not face an unmanageable tax burden for services we provide today. The last 15 months has presented unprecedented challenges to our community, Alberta, Canada, and the world. Navigating the impacts of COVID-19 along with other economic challenges already faced by Albertans has been complex and difficult. We have built stronger and more collaborative relationships with neighboring communities and all levels of government and have worked closely with public health leaders to ensure our practices are evidence-based and current. As CAO, I am very proud of the work our staff have done in this environment. None of them could have predicted and of the resolve and their leadership they demonstrate every day. Some of the influencers on our 2021 operating budget, we look at the 2020 budget and the actual operating results of the past 3 years to identify if there's any opportunities for changing those expenses or revenues. Property assessments for the year 2020, as you know, during the assessment presentation, some of the assessments went down, some went up, so that will affect the operating budget as in the taxation. The town's current financial position, the inflation rate, so the amount of money that it's going to cost to deliver the same services in 2021 that it previously had cost in 2020. Of course, the impacts from the provincial 2021 budget. The increase in the policing went from 10% to 15% of the cost to deliver service to our community, and the contribution from government bodies for recreation. We ended a contract that provided $25,000 a year. So again, safety has been the utmost top of our mind when my management team was helping me to establish our 2021 operating budget. We're committed to supporting the safety of residents, visitors, and staff, create a balance between maintaining service levels and re-imaging the way we work, working closely with public health officials, and practices are evidence-based and current.
Hey, Pat, do you want questions during or after the?
Sure, just interrupt me.
If you back up a couple slides, you made a statement there. I just wanted to clarify for the sake of the viewers about the $25,000.
Yeah, the city of Fort Saskatchewan was committed to helping us with the ice plant as Strathcona County and Lamont County did. So they did it over 4 years.
Great, thank you.
Just want to talk a little bit for community about the things that are operating budget services. So helps with the costs with senior administration, which is mayor and council, policy development and implementation, promotion and publicity, communications, intergovernmental affairs, public engagement, and of course our legislative services. Other things that just at a very high level, infrastructure services, AKA public works, urban and rural infrastructure, winter and summer maintenance, agriculture services, capital construction, transportation planning, traffic safety, parks maintenance, fleet and building maintenance, and of course, occupational health and safety. Our corporate services, compensation and benefits, technology, planning and strategy, assessment and tax, and financial reporting. Community Planning and Development Services, RCMP and Enforcement Services, Business and Development Attraction and Retention, Family and Individual Support Services, Land Development Planning, and Trade Agreement Compliance, which is contracts. Just thought I'd do a little quick picture here to show you how we get our taxes and the tax revenue comparison in the last 5 years. So as you can see, for the last 3 years, we've stayed pretty steady on our tax revenue. Just wanted to go over the revenue if council had any concerns in the changes, any large amount numbers there. So the school in Lamont, I think Councillor Lee had a question about that, if the education requisition or the seniors housing went up, and in 2020, the school requisition was 406,227, and in 2021 we're seeing it at $400,001. So probably the same, just a population reflection.
All right.
So our requisition would be changed. Seniors housing, we saw an increase or lowering of that one as well. In 2020, it was 57,431, and this year we see it 55,520, and again, probably a direct correlation to population.
Thank you. Question.
Yes.
So had a resident ask me this question. So the 0% tax increase is actually an average increase or number, right? It's not not everyone's going to have a 0%, right?
So, Mr. Mayor, we're proposing a 0% tax increase. Now, how this will affect individual residents depends on how your assessment did this year. So if your assessment went up or down or stayed the same, and as you know, as our assessor presented, they do different areas every year. Some people did improvements. So when we had a really great compliance with people sending in if they've done any changes to the property. So if you've done any renovations or taken out any development permits, your assessment, of course, would have gone up. So your assessment would go up and your taxes, right?
Right. Now the question was, what would it take to have a true 0% increase for the entire town? What would that do to our budget?
I'm going to defer that to Ms. Sinclair. I did ask her that same question. I want to say it was, Sharon, do you remember what that was?
I don't recall exactly, but in order to collect the amount we collected last year, we have to increase the mill rate. So if we didn't increase the mill rate, we would have to cut back on the budget.
Exactly. And any idea what percent we would have to make that change?
Mr. Mayor, I can't remember, but I don't even want to guess, but it was significant amount of money because I did ask Ms. Sinclair for that number and it wasn't even doable. So.
Yep. Yeah. No. If it's possible to just let council know what that number is, and then we would know, because like I figure, and I imagine the rest of council figure, that would be a huge impact to what we try to do in town, right?
Oh, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. So 0% budget increase means that for the second year in a row, we haven't increased the cost to deliver services. And in another slide, you'll see that inflation is for sure, as we all know, when we get our utility bills at home, the cost to run our houses is definitely increasing. So the cost to run a municipality is definitely increasing. So impact to budget at keeping it at 0% means other services are already being cut in the community to keep it at 0.
Yep. Thank you.
If we move down to franchise fees, this was a increase of 24,000. That was a council motion to increase franchise fees, which is going directly into our utilities for future maintenance and enhancements. Grant revenue, of course, was direct impact with the MSP and the most funding from the government due to COVID. And we got a few other grants from the federal government. And so those are reflected there, the increase. And don't see, transfer from reserved was an increase of $40,000. Any other questions on revenue from council?
Can't see everyone on my screen, so if anybody has any questions, please just shout it out.
Okay, and just a quick slide just to show our viewers exactly how our money is spent, most of it. Community services, 28%, roads, 17%, water and wastewater, 5%, waste and recycling, 8%, planning and development, 6%, legislative services and council, 3% of our total operating budget. Corporate services, which is all your administration costs, 28%. And all our contracted services fall in there for administrative, like our assessors, our lawyers, our planners. Fire services, 3%. That's the cost to run the fire hall and associated costs with the fire hall. And protective services is 1%. So the budget comparison, obviously in 2021, the operating budget is up because of the extra funding we got for the COVID-19 and the associated costs that come with that. But as you can see, we've pretty much kept it steady the last 5 years since 2017.
Yeah, so if you took away the COVID dollars, it would be probably pretty flat, hey?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that'd be correct. Now we'll just talk a little bit about the expenses and some changes there. Reduction in wages by $13,000. That would be the administrative side of the house. Contract management, 21,000. That would be the reduction of a contracted economic development officer we don't have anymore. Benefits is a direct correlation to having less employees. Building maintenance was last year we had in the budget to fix the administration wall that, as you know, that we did a significant fix there. And supplies and materials, the increase of 168,000 is the direct correlation to spreading the COVID funding across the board. So that's offset by the grant money that we got in revenue. Contracted services, again, reduction due to COVID. The increase, so in the previous page, you saw that we had an increase in transfer to reserves, and now we've had a reduction on the expense side in the transfer. So that became a result of the utility reframing. So before we used to have water transfer to reserves, and now that's been changed to sewer. So at the end of the day, when it shakes out, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, the difference was the supplies and materials.
That was from the COVID, Councillor Lee.
Oh, okay.
So we got the funding from the government to offset. So we did some extra projects with that funding.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that was on the previous slide. If you back up to the.
Yeah.
So it's on both of, yeah, you're covering both, yeah, okay.
The $63,000 extra here. So looking at each department, you can see emergency management up by 111,000. This is just a different way of framing it. That's where we had put that extra funding for COVID is all going under emergency management, and we're tracking it there. The general administration, again, was the change in wages, not backfilling a couple of positions that we lost during COVID because of reduction in services to our community. We're still holding off as we are still partially closed, a lot of our services. Yeah, I've kind of gone through all of these.
Patty, just protective services, is that the RCMP requisition?
Yeah, we put bylaw services and the RCMP in one. So yeah, that would be the increase in the requisition there.
And just for the sake of the listeners, common services, just a short explanation on what common services is again.
Mr. Mayor, that would be on the public works side of the house. So maybe Mr. Tomashaw can give a better definition of what he puts under common services as opposed to other things. Oh, he might not be there. Just let me look here, I will. Some of the things that are in common services are all the shop repairs and fuel, natural gas. So basically all the things that cost to keep the shop going, the wages, memberships, travel, sort of very similar to the administrative expenses for staff. So building maintenance, equipment maintenance, everything to do with our shop and running of that shop.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor and Patty, I couldn't unmute there. I just finally got unmuted here. So yes, just a segue into that. This is everything, a mix of all the other departments that fall into common services. So, and Patty, I think just to reiterate, building maintenance, equipment maintenance, rental, leases, insurance, supplies and materials for different buildings, fuel is under that, and natural gas and power.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, if council remembers, at the end of the year, we were over on most of our utilities. They came in higher than we expected. Cost of fuel, cost of gas, cost of electricity, all of those things have gone up. So that's why we've increased them in the 2021 budget.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, just thought it'd be kind of interesting to point out to council that the inflation rates in 2017 as compared to our tax increase, and we really look at those to try to stay pretty much close to those. So in 2017, we saw an inflation rate of 2.32% and our budget increased by 2.68. And in 2018, we saw an inflation rate of 2.88%, and we had a budget increase of 1.5. And then you'll see the following year in 2019, that inflation rate was 2.16, and we actually had to go higher, 2.86. I like to watch these trends and monitor them because, as you know, sometimes when you hold it steady, you might see a larger increase a few years because you know, you're draining your reserves and your opportunities to make things work. So this will be the second year in a row that we've held at the 2019, and we're in 2020 we saw 1.34% and projected of 1.87% in 2021. So just as a kind of watch the environment, and of course these are all based on the City of Edmonton's projections and Conference Board of Canada.
And that was from this year's projections.
Yes. Yeah, then 2020 is still projected, but 2019, 2018, and 2017 are actuals.
Okay, thank you.
It takes about a year to get the actuals after you complete the year. So just in summary, we're committed to safety this year. We're sustaining service levels, maintaining infrastructure, creating efficiencies, working really hard at leveraging grant dollars, investing in growth, and we're recommending a 0% tax increase. And so I know that council always asks the impact. And so I asked Ms. Sinclair to pull some different houses from around the community. And so in Old Town, we pulled the green is 2020 and the orange is 2021. So you can see there's very little impact to residents on the 0% budget, even with the assessment. Again, this is just a small picture. So in Old Town, in 2020, somebody paid 2601, and this year they're going to be paying 2572. And we pulled another piece of property. Last year they would have paid 2387, and this year they're paying 2337. In Brookside, this is total, sorry, including education and senior housing, so total impact to residents. In Brookside, last year they paid 2861, and this year they're paying 2813. Another one in Brookside, 2643, and this year and last year they paid 2600. In Sunset, last year somebody paid 2700. This year they'll pay 2597. Last year somebody paid in Sunset 2931. This year they'll pay 2813. West Woodlands, the newer subdivision in our community. So last year somebody paid 4,224, and this year they'll pay 4,337. And that was a direct result of improvements to property. We pulled it and looked, their assessment went up. West Woodlands, again, somebody last year paid 4,255. This year they'll pay 4,226. And then asked to pull a rural property. Last year they paid 5,277. This year they'll pay 5,285.
Thank you. That's a very helpful chart.
So most people, Mr. Mayor, I would be within $20. I would say $20 to $50 either way of what they paid last year.
And on the residential side, but the business side might be a different story, or?
It'll be exactly the same, Mr. Mayor. We have the same tax rate for business as we do residents.
Okay, yep, but there was no comparisons there, so I was just curious. Thank you. Any questions?
And
from
that
council?
was everything. If council had any questions on the operating budget.
Councillor George, I could see.
I have one question. You've taken over the two co-ops, the Bruderheim Water Co-op and the the Bilderberg Water Co-op. What's our revenue generated off that? What are we getting back on that? Is that a cost plus, or are we making anything off of that? Or
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, as you know, municipalities are not in the business of making money. So we're doing cost recovery with both of those co-ops. So we charge them, we track the mileage, we track our staffing, we track training, all of those things. There's a model that all municipalities use when delivering service to other agencies.
So it's a break even.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions?
No.
I found this high level report very helpful. Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
I make a comment, Mr. Mayor. I noticed we're at zero, which is fantastic. I noticed a few things where we cut expenses. I think that's fantastic. So I think this is the first time you're going to hear this from me. We're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you for that positive message, Councillor Lynn. Any other comments, questions, concerns from council?
I have one, Carl.
Councillor Judy?
So it's a great presentation, Patty. I see all your numbers out there and I can follow it quite well. I guess my only thought is future. I mean, costs have gone up over the past 2 years at the 0% increase. So future, we have to look at, like, taxes are going to have to go up. I don't know what's going to happen next year with COVID, but so we'll have to get, I guess, creative on how to hopefully get some good grants or something like that to keep things from like our underground stuff and all the work that we want to do to progress to keep that kind of stuff going. That is going to be a challenge next year. I see that in the future because you can't keep going at zero when everything else is going up and still, you know, look after your, you know, your water lines and all the other infrastructure that is deteriorating. And I mean, we've been talking about Old Town, looking at it and stuff. So I think we're really going to have to think about those things for the next year or for the next council. We'll really have to give some hard considerations.
Absolutely. One saving grace would be when the hemp company comes off of the tax-free for 3. That's another 1.5 years, 2 years.
Mr. Mayor, it'd be 2 years, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, you're absolutely correct. And I think council approving those franchise fees to put away for future utility upgrades and repairs and is a great first step. And we'll be looking, me and my management team, at ways to get those reserves up and transfer funds offsetting. As you know, we have a reserve for offsetting impact of taxes. And so how do we fund that reserve? So as well as we know that like things like reducing the snow removal budget, we had a year that we were able to do that. But just remember, when I take it out, putting it back in is a 2% tax increase, right? So everything I took out to get to zero has to go back in for 2022. So yeah, it'll be, again, we'll work really hard. I don't want to scare anybody for sure, but COVID has given us the ability to reduce some of our costs for services. But I do believe that people will want those services back, you know, get back to having recreation and programming and having the office open and having the hall available to rent, which costs, you know, and the arena being open. And so, yeah, we're already working on 2022. And thank you, council, for realizing that maintaining 0% is not a long-term goal.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Question, comments? Councillor George has his hand up. Did Councillor Wayne, you have a hand up as well?
Yep.
Councillor Wayne and then Councillor George.
I'm just going to say again, thank you to the administration for doing this. It's not an easy job when you have a number and have to bring it down to a level that we can still operate with and still cut. So again, thank you very much for all that you guys have done to get this together. And yeah, we're really gonna have to look, or the next council's gonna have to look at how we can make things, bring things back and still not have a huge increase, but it's gonna have to happen. But just want to thank you guys for everything you've done for this one. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor George.
I just want to reiterate what everybody else has said. One question was, without this, without the increase in tax, how are we keeping up with inflation? Is that for this year, the cost of everything?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Council Campbell, all of the costs that we projected are in the budget. We didn't cut any cost to operate. What we've done is reduce, as I said, like we know things like snow removal. We've been holding off hiring an administrative assistant at the office for customer service rep, and we hit pause on backfilling our retirement that happened just recently. And so those things are we've hit pause on just to get us through so that we can pass that savings on to residents during a difficult time. But we have not cut anywhere that we are paying utilities or bills or costs to maintain our roads or to keep the lights on or anything like that. We didn't cut anywhere there.
What about if we run into a situation where we have to do a major repair or something like that? Are we in a good situation there so that we can forego that expenditure?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, as always, I would come to council and we look at our reserves. Right now, we're just under $1 million in reserves, and our ideal is 1.5 million. So management team's still working towards that, but we've been hovering around $1 million for the last few years and been able to cover any costs that aren't budgeted for. So I'm comfortable that we're okay.
No more questions.
Thank you, Councillor George. If there's no further questions, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? That motion was to approve the 2021 final municipal operating budget as presented. Okay, and the motion's carried. Thank you. Now we're looking for a motion for council to approve the 3-year financial plan for the town of Bruderheim. Councillor Wayne.
The town council approved the 3-year financial plan for the town as presented here.
Thank you. Is there a presentation, Pat, for?
No, Mr. Mayor, as we stated in the request for decision, this is just a plan, and it's actually it's very helpful for planning for management when we look at the 22 budget. It just makes us sit down and think about costs and what it's going to cost and use these inflation charts to project. So we've already started using it in our 2020 planning. So
great.
It's just a planning document for sure.
Any questions from council on that plan? No, the silence is acceptance then. So we'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Now we'll be looking for a motion to approve the 5-year capital plan. Councillor Pat.
I move that town council approve the 5-year capital plan for the town of Bruderheim as presented.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, concerns with that motion from our council?
And Mr. Mayor, I just want to add to this that I'm sure that you've looked at this and you can see that we make lots of assumptions, you know, with funding and gas tax and the future of MSI. And again, our number one goal is to keep this again is a great exercise in identifying, especially Mr. Tomashette. He's the big spender here. All the things that he needs. So identifying those helps us watch for grants and opportunities. So if you look on the last page, it tells you that, you know, our reserves will look okay if we stick to this 5-year capital plan, and as long as the funding still keeps coming and we figure out how to get those leverage grants and at the federal and provincial level, and of course industry partners. So it's a good exercise again for administration to work through these things.
Thank you. And these plans will be on the website. So if folks wanted to review them and provide feedback, they they would be able to see those, right? Yeah,
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. If there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, want to commend the
Mayor?
administration. Oh, Councillor Wayne, you have a
I just had a
question?
question in regards to the 5-year plan. At the bottom, you have the ending reserve and grant balances.
Yes.
Mhm.
What you're saying is that's what it's going to be at the end of each fiscal year.
That's correct.
So we're so in
If we did everything we said we were going to do on that 5-year plan that year. And it was that cost.
and it's then in 2025 we were left with 570,000. Is that
That's correct. If the projection
Yeah.
was 100% correct.
okay?
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's a few things looking into a crystal ball, like you said, for assumptions, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with the motion? Just wanted to commend the administration and our CAO for bringing forward a plan. I know that Mr. Tomashat sits high on the screen there because he's got a big bag of money to sit on, but we very much appreciate all the hard work that went into putting this together for us. Thank you. So if there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, to call for a vote, all those that are opposed to the motion, and hearing none, the motion is carried. Thank you. So we can move on to the next item, which is 8.3, Rural Municipalities of Alberta Associate Membership.
Mr. Mayor, could we just back up and do
Oh,
8.1?
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got ahead of myself there.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're right. 8.1 is the tax rate bylaw, second and third reading. So we'll need two readings, right? Two motions. Yep. So we're looking for a motion, I guess, for the second reading. Is there a preamble, CAO Pat?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'd like to give second and third reading to a bylaw that will authorize the 2021 tax rate structure in order to levy the property taxes necessary to cover budget and requisition requirements. The bylaw 05-2021, a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates for the town of Bruderheim to be given second reading. We're also recommending that bylaw 05-2021, a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates for the town of Bruderheim be given third reading. On April 21st, 2021, Council gave first reading to bylaw 05-2021 at the regular meeting of Council. On December 16, 2020, Council approved the 2021 interim budget of 4.18 million with revenues matching expenses, which included a 1.2% operating budget increase. At that time, Council provided direction, if we could, to reduce from 1.2 to 0% municipal operating budget for the final 2021 operating budget. The proposed tax rates are based on a 0% operating budget increase as directed by Council. In 2018, the town of Bruderheim incorporated a minimum tax of 500 and 100 for annexed land pursuant to the 2020 Lamont County tax rate bylaw. The Municipal Government Act Section 353 requires that a tax rate bylaw be passed annually by Council for the establishment of property tax rates for the town of Bruderheim. The tax rate bylaw is required to authorize tax rates that are necessary to generate property tax revenues, required to support municipal programs and services pursuant to the approved budgets, provincial and school board education requisitions, and other requisitions. The 2021 tax rates being recommended are contained within the bylaw 05-2021. Pursuant to the approval of the town's 2021 municipal final operating budgets, the following additional information and analysis was prepared in order to further enhance the basis for this recommendation. Comparison on mill rates, assessment, and tax with similar sized municipalities. The tax rate equals revenue requirements divided by total taxable assessment. Tax rates are a calculated number dependent on the budget and requisition requirements and the total taxable assessment. Property taxes are not a fee for service, but a way of distributing the costs for local government services and programs fairly throughout a municipality. Municipal property taxes of $1,427,106 are required for municipal operations. Alberta Municipal Affairs has submitted the 2021 school fund requisition in the amount of $400,094 for comparison, that the 2020 requisition was $406,227. Lamont County Housing Foundation has submitted the 2021 municipal seniors housing requisition in the amount of $55,520. In comparison, the 2020 requisition was $57,431. And that's everything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Someone from Council, Councillor Wayne, please make the motion.
The bylaw 05-2021, a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates, the town of Bruderheim be given second reading.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns for administration on that motion? Okay. Not hearing any comments, questions, or concerns. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Now we're looking for a motion for the third reading of the tax rate bylaw. Councillor Judy.
The bylaw 05/2021, a bylaw to authorize the 2021 tax rates for the town of Bruderheim be given third and final reading.
Thank you. And any comments, questions, or concerns from council? Is there anything that you wanted to read into for this third reading, CAO Pat?
No, I'm good, Mr.
No?
Mayor.
Okay. Okay, not hearing any comments, questions, or concerns. Call for a vote then. All those opposed to that motion? Hearing none, then the motion's carried. I just wanted to make a note going back to the 3 and 5 year plans, just for the sake of folks watching. Those are plans, and plans can change, and so it's good to plan and have a guide going into the future. But plans can change, right? And if we get feedback or things change, then they may not be set in concrete. But that's good to have a plan going forward. So thank you. Now we can move on to 8.3, the one that I was in a hurry to get to, Rural Municipalities of Alberta Associate Membership.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to provide council with information about rural municipalities of Alberta and the option to become an associate member. We're recommending the town council direct administration to proceed with the $195 associate member application for the town of Bruderheim to become an associate member of the Rural Municipalities of Alberta. History: the town of Bruderheim is a member of the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association. This association provides support to local government and offers a wide variety of services municipalities have access to in the urban area. Strategic plan areas: sustainable economy, the support of agribusiness community by belonging to the rural municipalities of Alberta. As you know, that we annexed those lands into our municipal borders. A healthy, vibrant community, opportunities to provide residents and businesses in and around our community with information that will benefit them. The summary: the Rural Municipalities of Alberta, RMA, is an independent association comprising of Alberta's 69 counties and MDs. They help rural municipalities achieve strong, effective local government through their service and advocacy, business services, trade, fuel, and insurance. They have about 900 members in Alberta and 5,500 across Canada. The town of Bruderheim is supported by agribusiness neighbors, and the information presented through the Rural Municipalities of Alberta will be helpful in supporting our agribusiness community. Administration will ensure that staff are aware of purchasing options available through the Rural Municipalities of Alberta vendor listing, and council and administration staff will be made aware of the conference and webinar opportunities. That's everything, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Looking for a motion from council for the Rural Municipalities Association. Councillor Pat.
I move that town council direct administration to proceed with the $195 associate member application for the town of Bruderheim to become an associate member of Rural Municipalities of Alberta.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Councillor Pat.
Okay, so it costs $195 to put in an application.
Oh,
What
Mr.
is-
Mayor, sorry, through Councillor Lee, that's our annual membership as an associate member.
Okay, annual membership, so maybe change that up to an annual membership rather than, I'm seeing it as just putting in the application for $195. But the cost of being a member, an associate member, is $195.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
maybe kind of a little reword on that in terms of getting rid of, you know what I'm saying, Patty? You see what I'm
yeah.
saying here? How do you
So,
wanna
Mr. Mayor,
put
did
that?
somebody make a motion already?
I did put the motion forward.
Yes.
You want to do a friendly amendment to that, Mr. Mayor?
Yep. Looking for a friendly amendment to change that to, and pardon me if I'm putting words in your mouth, Councillor Pat, that direct administration to proceed with a $195 associate member fee for the town of Bruderheim to become an associate member of Rural Municipalities of Alberta. Does that work?
That should work. That sounds good. Yeah.
It
'cause
should
that
be the
would-
word membership.
Yeah, we can,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, associate membership fee, we could change
Yep.
it to that.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
Right.
Thanks for that clarification, Councillor Pat.
okay, so that's the clarification. Do I, again, Town
No, I
coun-
don't think you have to read it through. You just accepted the friendly amendment, right? We could maybe just run through what it reads like right now.
The town council direct administration to proceed with the $195 associate membership fee to the town, for the town of Bruderheim to become an associate member of the rural municipalities of Alberta.
Sounds good to me. Is that okay with administration?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. You have the beautiful sunshine on your face there, Pat. Um,
I love the sun.
any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Councillor
Another,
Wayne. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wayne,
What-
and then back to you, Councillor Pat.
I'm just gonna verify, this is a yearly fee of 195, right? It's not a one-time?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that's correct. It's an annual membership fee.
fee.
And we
Thank
would
you.
have access to their webinars and different, emails and e-letters. And we're finding that there's a lot of great information being in the rural community and supported by our farmers. And of course, now with one of our primary business development being in the agribusiness, there's opportunities for funding and grants that we would certainly like to share with our, as well as the annex lands. We have farmers in there as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of, gather as much information as we can that's out there for sure.
Awesome, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wayne, and back to Councillor Pat.
And just kind of a follow-up, as an associate member, there's no voting. We're not voting members, we're associate member, right? Is that how that works?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, that is exactly it. Yeah, we wouldn't, it'd be like associate member of the Alberta Industrial Heartland, no voting, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
we're a
yeah.
voting member at AMA, so that would be like double dipping, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, just a little clear, clear the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
Thanks, Patty. That's all good.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Pat. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Just a couple questions. I think it's a good idea to join this association. It looks like it has opportunities for our community. I'm just wondering, you mentioned that there's opportunities to purchase things through other suppliers and stuff. Is that something that we would actually pursue different than what we're doing right now, or is just an option going forward?
So, Mr. Mayor, we currently enjoy that option with AMA as it is right now. So I haven't gone down there with Mr. Tomaschat to actually see if there's anything different that they have developed partnerships with, but both as associations probably look to fulfill certain needs of their members. So there might be some different opportunities at the rural for purchasing. So they take advantage of bulk purchasing, right? So for instance, staples and those sorts of things for office supplies, we do through AMA and we get invoiced, and Mr. Tomaschat can buy tires and things like that that we can take advantage of bulk purchasing through AMA, but there might be some vendors on the list that might be worth looking into.
Great, thank you. And would there be any support for any of our not-for-profits in town as being part of this association?
Well, Mr. Mayor, we could pass the information on to them for sure, but they're also allowed to join as well if they would like.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried, and we can move on to the next item on the agenda. 8.4, pest inspector appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to provide council with information to appoint pest and weed inspectors for the town of Bruderheim. The town council approved the appointment of Jesse Cressy, Strathcona County Transportation and Agriculture Services, as a pest inspector for the town of Bruderheim, effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. The town council approved the appointment of Sterling Kozak, Strathcona County Transportation and Agriculture Services, as a pest inspector for the town of Bruderheim, effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. The town council approved the appointment of Elsie Graham, Strathcona County Transportation and Agriculture Services, as a weed inspector for the town of Bruderheim, effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. The town council approved the appointment of Robin Schneer, Strathcona County Transportation and Agriculture Services, as a weed inspector for the town of Bruderheim, effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. History: Strathcona County and the town of Bruderheim have a service agreement amended July 16, 2020 that provides the provisions of a community peace officer, bylaw officer, dog control, and pest and weed control services from Strathcona County. Strategic plan areas: pest control and parks spaces to ensure safety of those using the parks. Continued support of environmental initiatives, and the community is educated on the responsibilities and limitation of council administration. Also provides accountability and transparency. Other impacts: we have a policy, a service agreement with Strathcona County amended on July 16, 2020. Legislative: weed control regulation 19-2010, and with amendments up to and including Alberta Regulation 125, 2016. Weed Control Act, Statutes of Alberta 2008, Chapter W51, current as of December 15, 2017. The town of Bruderheim incorporated an education component for pest and weed control in our community, with each letter notifying residents of concerns. There's an accompanying education material to provide information to the recipient. The initial focus of their work will be on properties that are owned by the town of Bruderheim. Confirmation of the appointments will be sent to Strathcona County and shared with our staff. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. So we're looking for a motion from council for the pest inspector appointments. Now, I'm just wondering, we need 4 separate motions, or is it one motion for all 4? Or?
No, we'll need separate, Mr. Mayor. It's a legislative document that we sent in.
Okay, so the first one is for the appointment of Jesse Cressy, Deputy Mayor.
I move the town, I move the town council approve the appointment of Jesse Cressy, Strathcona County Transportation and Agricultural Services, as the pest inspector for the town of Bruderheim, effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? I'm just wondering, with as far as for the inspecting, is it also driven by, say, residents phoning in, or they're going to have a schedule, or how, like you mentioned, they're going to start with town lands first when they're doing the inspections, right?
So, Mr. Mayor, yeah, so they actually look at our lands to make sure we're in compliance, which is, of course, one of the most important things. And then they start to look at properties as well as complaint driven. And we do some proactive education. So if we see somebody's property that's perhaps needing a little bit of weed control, and they'll stop and leave a pamphlet or mail a pamphlet and try to educate and give opportunity for change in behaviors. And then of course we move along to the enforcement side. As far as the pests, we've already received complaints at the community park about the pest digging large holes and creating hazards. So
thank you for that explanation. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from Deputy Mayor?
I guess just my first question was pest inspectors, and you kind of answered it. So I'm assuming gophers, other rodents,
ground
skunks?
squirrels, ground squirrels.
Ground squirrels.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we don't deal with skunks.
Okay. What all, I guess, inclusively, what all would a pest inspector be looking for?
We would be looking for pests that create hazards.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, if I don't know if you've noticed lately in Strathcona County, the geese have overtaken Festival Place area, and they created quite a hazard. And I'm sure you saw in the global news, geese crossing the bridge, everybody waiting. So pest is all inclusive and define of, right? But primarily in Bruderheim, the ball fields in the west side of West Woodlands are infested with ground squirrels and gophers.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor George has his hand up.
This pest control, who activates the initiation to do the controlling? Is it up to the town to hire their own rodent controller or pest control person?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, Mr. Tomashed initiates the request to Strathcona County to send a pest control crew. And they take care of it from identifying to controls to filing the documentation that we need.
Is there any signage put up also when they're doing this?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Campbell through Mr. Mayor. We signage as in if If they're spraying or something, are you talking about
Well,
weeds now?
spraying or using chemicals for pest control, whether it be herbicidal or otherwise.
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, we don't use anything that's dangerous to people.
Thanks for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? So just a quick question for myself. So someone notices lots of gophers in a field near where they live and they phone that in, then every time it gets phoned in, the town is going to get charged for the pest control then? And the second part of that question would be, is it contracted services through Strathcona, or is it Strathcona staff that themselves that are coming?
So, Mr. Mayor, the first part of that question was they phone the town office. They don't phone enforcement service. So
Okay,
once that complaint's received, I pass it on to Mr. Thomasshott. He has his staff inspect the area, and then we move from there. And the Strathcona County Pest Control and weed inspectors that are your signing are actual staff of Strathcona County as stated in the motions.
okay. So no outside contractors. It'll be Strathcona staff. Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion for the pest inspector? Hearing none, the motion's carried, and we move on to the next one for Sterling Koziak, looking for a motion from council. Councillor Pat?
I move the town council approve the appointment of Sterling Koziak, Strathcona County Transportation and Agricultural Services, as a pest inspector for the town of Bruderheim effective May the 3rd, 2021 to December 31, 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Just a comment, do we have that many pests that there's 2 people required as pest inspectors?
Mr. Mayor, that's just so they can send whoever is available and not
Okay.
worry about, you have to be appointed to be, it's just like our peace officers are all appointed as well.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. Now we move on to the appointment of Elsie Graham. Councillor Wayne. Sorry, Councillor Wayne, I believe you're muted.
Sorry. The town council approved the appointment of Elsie Graham, Strathcona County Transportation Agriculture Services, as a weed inspector for the town of Bruderheim effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, then call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. And the fourth motion for the weed inspector, Robin Schneier. Is someone from council be willing to, Deputy Mayor?
I move that council approve the appointment of Robin Schneier, Strathcona County Transportation and Agricultural Services, as the weed inspector for the town of Bruderheim effective May 3rd, 2021 to December 31st, 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that final motion? Just wanted to make a comment that I think it's really good that when they come in and take a look at a property and there's some issues, they first try to educate before trying to go to enforcement. And I think that's very helpful. And for myself, that would be something that would be well received, because I would like to believe that most people don't even know sometimes what it constitutes being a weed on their property. So thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. So now we can move on to council committee reports. Looking for a motion to accept council committee reports as information. Councillor Pat.
I move that town council accept the council committee reports as information.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with the council committee reports? just wanted to say thank you to Sherry for always being diligent to make sure that we're getting our reports in. Thank you for that. So hearing no more comments, questions, or concerns, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. I will be looking for a motion for receiving the mayor report as information. Councillor Wayne.
The council received the mayor report as information.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns on what's in the report? I do have some extra information that came up this week that I wanted to add in that was not in that report that just happened recently. Before I made the report up. The Ag Society did a highway cleanup and I was able to volunteer with those folks on Saturday, and it was great to see volunteers out cleaning up the ditches and raising some money for a really good cause for the Bruderheim Ag Society. Thank you for the Bruderheim Ag Society for organizing that. Also wanted to mention that as a follow-up to our concern with being told no on the grant from the province for our water reservoir, our MLA set up a meeting and we had a virtual meeting, myself and Pat and Alberta Innovates and our MLA, and hopefully something good can come from that because those folks receive a lot of information in a short period of time, and I know that it was very helpful having our CAO there to fill in the details. I wanted to say thanks to our MLA for organizing that meeting, and we still have a meeting coming up later. I think it's in June now with our transportation minister in regards to that grant that we were turned down on. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is Lamont High School has got a graduation coming pretty soon, and usually our town takes part in the live grad ceremony, but of course with COVID again this year, we were able to make up a video that Jill helped with, and that was given to Lamont High School as part of the package for the grads. So just wanted to say thanks to Jill and CAO Pat for their help getting that put together. And that was concludes the mayor report. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. And now we're moving on to the CAO report, looking for a motion from council to receive the mayor CAO report as information. Councillor Judy.
The town council received the chief administrator officer report as information.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns for CAO Pat on CAO report? Not hearing anything from council. I do have a couple of little things I wanted to inquire about. I noticed there was a mention of the Canadian Rockies hemp, and I'm just wondering, did they mention any timelines? I've seen several times folks on social media asking what's going on, and we see vehicles there a little bit, and just wondering, is there any kind of timeline for when they will be starting up, or have you heard anything?
Mr. Mayor, actually Canadian Rockies is coming to open session on June, I was just making sure, June 2nd, the first council meeting in June, to give the community an update.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the CAO report from council? Then the next thing I noticed in the report was about picnic tables being purchased for the campground. I was just wondering what portion of the budget is the picnic tables coming from?
Mr. Mayor, that would be in roads. So it comes out of roads, everything. So signs, or no, actually that's in campground, actually, sorry, parks. I was thinking on our roads budget, we do the furniture on Main Street comes out of there. And parks in campground is under that. And so we've been slowly buying enough tables so that every year that every spot will have a table. And so this year that will finish that project.
Great. So they're going to have a giant padlock holding them down so they don't walk away.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, we haven't had any trouble. So
that's great news. Thank you.
They're the people out there, I think they put their barbecues and stuff on them that holds them down nice and tight.
Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns for CAO Pat on her report? The last thing I wanted to ask is great initiative on the dog park committee. I'm just wondering the uptake from the community to have volunteers come forward. What has that been like?
Mr. Mayor, that just went out this week and we haven't received anything yet. I believe Councillor Lecco had a question too. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see his hand up. Sorry, Councillor Wayne.
Because I guess can I ask an inquiry? It's just not on her report, but is there a, would it be okay if I asked?
Absolutely,
inquired
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do a review of the green street signs, especially in Brookside? A lot of them are very faded and very hard to see, just like the street and avenue signs.
So, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Lecco, we're actually just placed a large order, and we have assessed, as you know, a part of our asset management program, we actually have software now that we annually check the state, and our focus was on, I think I've mentioned this before, regulatory signs. So the stops, the yields, the dead ends. And this year, I know for sure that Mr. Tomashat has ordered some addressing signs of the signs that are showing the most wear for sure. One of my priorities is Telespar. As you know, a lot of our poles are on steel pipe, which is very dangerous if anybody was to impact them. So Telespar is very expensive, and we're okay, like we're grandfathered, but as soon as you touch a sign, you have to upgrade it to Telespar. So
That kind of the breakaway one you're talking about?
yeah, sorry, yeah, the breakaway on the bottom, and then you'll see there's holes in it so that if you hit it, it bends over, right? So I'm happy with where we're getting. I don't know if you noticed on Main Street last year, we finished all of those on Queen Street and upgraded the signage, and we have a few more dead end signs to upgrade, and then we'll start working on the street signs. So Brookside's definitely on the top of our list, as well as some in Old Town.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any other comments, questions, or concerns on the CA report? Deputy Mayor Daniel. The mute button is running away from you. There you go.
I'm using two screens, and if I'm tabbed on this one from scrolling, if I alt tab, it doesn't work. So I gotta click on this side. Sorry?
I'll learn you.
Oh, okay.
I'll learn you.
Yeah. I just got these big fat fingers. So I noticed that we're having some issues over at the Grass and Tree Branch refuse area. I guess I was curious, A, what kind of plans are we looking at with that? And then B, I have seen a lot of people using it with, great success, and obviously town folk are lucky to have it. But yeah, what kind of options would we be looking at for that?
Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor ask as well. I'm not sure I'm going to let Mr. Tomashat actually chime in on this one, but it's frustrating to say the least. And I am, as you know, Mr. Tomashat would like to see it closed and only open during working hours. We are trying to take care of it and monitor it. And as you know, if we lock the gate, people will dump it outside the gate because that's what people do. So there is no really great solution unless we hire somebody to stand and work at the gate. So we're going to try to control. I know Mr. Tomashat had the students in there cleaning up, and in China, it's just kind of like your house. If you keep it clean, people are more apt to keep it clean. We're trying to do education with some of those trees in there, definitely, and hay bales definitely didn't, well, I shouldn't say that. We do have rural residents within our municipal borders, but yeah, we really don't have a solution other than hiring somebody to be there and keeping the gate locked. But I can tell you from my experience working as a rural roads foreman that anything you lock, they'll just dump it outside of that. So just more education and pleading to residents that it's an awesome thing to have. And we certainly don't want to create a fire hazard, and we certainly don't want to contaminate it with garbage. And if we could do a little self-policing, I don't know if you've been there, but we put up a sign to hopefully inform residents what's acceptable there and what's not. And again, when people abuse it, it's a direct correlation to tax dollars, because to fix it, I have to spend tax dollars. So if we keep it clean, it's easy to get rid of. As you know, we can burn it and there's no cost. But if it's not clean, then we have to haul it away, and there's a direct cost to residents for that.
Absolutely. And I mean, realistically, if you're getting some large trees in there, maybe we'll just get some milling equipment and with the price of lumber, we can maybe make a few bucks.
Yeah.
Yep, the gold standard 2x4s are expensive. Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to accept the CAO report as information? Hearing none, the motion's carried, and there's
Mr.
no
Mayor,
vote.
could I
Yep.
just interrupt? Sorry, we
Sure.
did get two people that, one of my staff just let me know that we did get two people that stepped up to help with the dog park look into, so.
Great. Yep. How many folks were you kind of looking for? Or was just
About
open?
4, I think, Mr. Mayor, just to look in the feasibility, the costing and what it would look like. So again, with our, we've also reached out to community about the disc golf to assist with the Ag Society in that initiative. And we've had a couple folks step forward with that to assist the Ag Society as well. So it's great to have the community involved in these sorts of initiatives.
Awesome. Thank you. Looking for now correspondence. So we have a list of correspondence that is before us. So Lamont Healthcare Center minutes, Lamont County Housing Foundation minutes, director's summary from the Lamont County Housing Fort Air Partnership Community Report, and Bruderheim School Council meeting minutes. Was there anything else that needed to be added to this list for correspondence?
Nothing from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Anything from council? Okay, look for a motion to accept the correspondence and information items as presented. Councillor Pat.
I move the town council accept the listing of correspondence and information items for the period of April 17, 2021 to April 30th, 2021 as information.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Okay, haven't heard none. I'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. And the fellow with the Badlands background, we're looking for a motion.
I make a motion to go home or go to the couch, whichever's closer.
Thank you for that motion of adjournment. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion from council? Okay, I haven't heard none. Call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Great, thanks everyone.
Mr.
Great
Mayor, if I
meeting.
could just add something, just since if we have
Sure.
people watching, Lamont County currently has 26 active cases of COVID-19. As soon as we hit 30, we would go into the restrictions. So if you're needing your haircut, dash quickly.
Got my hair appointment for tomorrow.
So, Mr. Mayor, if residents could just watch our website, we're trying really hard to get information out and keep it current. And hopefully everybody's doing their best to stay safe and get vaccinated.
Yeah, get your massage appointment booked. Thank you for that.